Welcome everyone to this afternoon session. It's our eighth session for Eco Week now, and we're going to be talking about waste-free living today. Before we get started, a little bit of info on who we are. So my name is Sarah, and I work for ECO-UNESCO. I'm the coordinator of the Young Environmentalist Awards programme. We are a youth organisation focused on environmental education. We were founded in 1986, and it is our mission to empower young people to help protect the environment. We run a number of different programs, one of which is the Young Environmentalist Awards. I know at this stage a lot of you have heard about it, but do reach out to us if you are interested, and you can visit simply yea.ie for more information. So open to 10 to 18-year-olds, it's free to enter. We're at the registration phase now, so do feel free to visit that link and register a project. But that is it from me, and I'll stop sharing, and I shall introduce you to our guest speaker today. We have Patricia Kane here joining us from Reuzi. Patricia, you're very, very welcome. Thank you. And I will hand over to you.
Hello, Sarah. Hello, everyone. It's a joy to be here. Thank you very much for the invite. I hope you can hear me well. So, Sarah, if you can just confirm that and
Yep,
that you can
all
see
good.
the presentation as well.
All
Yeah,
super.
perfect. Very good. So I'm aware that we have a variety of age groups, I suppose, watching us today here. So I'm going to try and keep things as simple as possible. If you do have any questions at all, please add your questions to the questions and answers box or the chat, and we'll come to those at the end of the session. For now, I'd like to take you through waste-free living and what does that mean, right? To introduce myself, as Sarah mentioned, I own a business called Reuzi, which is a one-stop shop for sustainable living products. And I am also a partner at a consultancy firm called Pragmatica, where we help organizations, businesses to green up their credentials. So to do better in our planet or for our planet. I'm here to talk to you about the power of one and what that is. The power of one is my life motto, my business motto, and I'm basically talking about the power that we all have as individuals. Yeah. So you and I can make a difference with everything we do. And if collectively we decide to get together and make the same difference, a positive one, wow, we're going to be creating such a great impact to our planet. So never forget that there is power in one and there is power in you. So with every decision we make, being it how we get to school, to work, being it the food we eat, the food we buy for our houses, for our homes, the clothes we buy, all of that counts. Everything matters. And we can always be trying to do a bit better in our daily lives. So let's begin. We're here today because we have a pretty packed planet. And the reality, folks, is that this planet has been going through a lot lately. We have almost 8 billion people living on Earth. And the majority of those people, the majority of us, has somehow been impacted by some sort of climate change, being it strong droughts or wildfires or storms and hurricanes and whatnot. We have all been affected somehow. The goal that we have today, and this goal was set by the United Nations, which is looking after all of us, is to really try and hold back on the temperature rise of our planet. We have a goal that by 2030, we should try and limit that temperature to 1.5 degrees Celsius. We're not necessarily on track, but we have hope and we can still do a lot to try and help. And that's why we're here today. Excuse me. We're going to talk today about sustainability, this very long word and what that means, right? I'm hoping to give you a bit of information, a bit of inspiration, and hopefully a bit of a few ideas on how to go about this. So let's get started. What does sustainability means? It's a very long word. It's a word that, there's not one common definition for it out there. When I started, I guess, studying sustainability and really going for it and like, what does that mean? I guess, several definitions appeared in front of me. This is a very good one, which basically says that, it's going through life without impacting the ability of future generations to come to live and to have a good life. It is a good definition, but I thought something there was missing, right? And what is missing to me? What was missing there? Ensuring that we have a safe space as humans, a planet in which all of us can do good, to the point that we can look after that planet very, very well. So I'm always saying that when we thrive, our planet thrives. And what does that mean, right? If you think of someone struggling big time, to buy their food or to go about their lives on a daily basis, those folks, they're not going to be able to really be thinking about where their food comes from, where their clothes come from. They are literally just trying to eat something. They're literally just trying to dress themselves, and does not matter where things are coming from, how they're made. We're just trying to exist. The reality is that's not fair. We should all be in a condition, we should all be living in a way that allows us to be the best we can be. And until we're there, this is not a truly sustainable society. So to illustrate that, I have brought up here a few ideas for you. When we think of sustainability, this big long word, we think of like the natural world. Yeah, we're thinking of nature, we're thinking of plastics, we're thinking of litter, we're thinking of dirty, we're thinking of forests or oceans not being treated quite well, and so on. We're thinking about nature. However, there's much more to sustainability than nature. Yeah, this is absolutely a part of it, but there's more to it. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about you and I, humans. Yeah, if we feel like we live in a world where our opinions are valid, are heard, are important, that a world where we all feel included and valued and whatnot, you know, this is a true sustainable world. To illustrate that, I'm bringing to you what is called the Sustainable Development Goals. What are those? There are 17 goals that have been put together by the UN, the United Nations, a bunch of heads of state, and members of civil society like you and I back in 2015 with this idea that every nation should be looking into each one of those boxes and thinking, am I doing the best I can do when it comes to each one of those? And if not, work on a plan to try and do better. Yeah. So in there, folks, you will find things like climate action, life below water, so our oceans, life on land, our forests. You are looking at energy. So where does our energy comes from? Yeah, the light that we use, the energy we consume every day. So these things are, again, back to my point, very much things that come to mind when we think of sustainability, correct? Yes. So, however, there are other things in there that, we don't necessarily think of when we think of sustainability. And why am I trying to tell you that? Because I would love for you to, next time you think of the word sustainability, yes, think of our trees, our oceans, etc., but also think of us, ourselves as humans. Yeah. And thinking about, say, number three there. How are we doing health wise and our well being? Or number five, gender equality, which means all the different genders included, valued, heard. Or number 10, reduced inequalities. How do we make sure everybody feels great, is on board, and has equal opportunities? Because, folks, I can safely say talent is distributed equally, but opportunities aren't. Yeah, so we need to do better on that front. We need to make sure everybody gets good opportunities. And then number 12, if you're into shopping, this is a very good one for you. We love our clothes. We love to buy nice things. We are all the same. I know that. However, when we look at number 12, which is responsible consumption and production, this is a very important point because we still want to buy lovely things. We still want to have lovely things. However, where are those things coming from? Do we need that many things? Yeah. Do we need so much? Probably not. So it's about understanding what we actually need and then what we actually bring into our lives and where those things are coming from. Yeah. We'll talk about that in a bit about consumption, but I just wanted to illustrate that for you. Why are we doing that, folks? Because guess what? We have nowhere else to go. This is our planet. As far as we know, anyways, we have nowhere else to go. This is our planet. And there's no planet B, right? There's no plan B because there's no planet B. So I think this illustrates really well the why we're doing this, because this is our home. And as I'm always saying, we are here for a very short period of time. Life goes on so fast, and there's more people coming after us, and then after those, and then, and then, and then. So let's make sure we leave this place in great shape for other generations that will be coming after us, right? What's going on here in Ireland? Well, according to the EPA, which is the Environmental Protection Agency, we are wasting a lot. We are generating a lot of waste. Just over the past 8 to 10 years there, you will see a big increase in waste per person, yeah, here in Ireland. And what is going on? People are just spending their money on things that they don't necessarily need, and because of that they don't really value those things to the point that they want to keep those things forever, yeah, or for as long as possible, which means that all those great things that we're buying, we really don't care about them and they end up in the rubbish. Also, we live in a society today where we're buying a lot of things that are heavily packaged, things that come into plastic bags and then boxes and then plastic films and whatnot. So there is a lot of waste. I would really invite you to have a look this weekend, starting tomorrow. How much waste, how much rubbish is going into the bin. Have a look, pay attention, and try and figure it out. How can you do better at that to try and reduce that number, at least for yourself? Every household in Ireland, the average household in Ireland, generates the equivalent of 400 over the past over the past 5 years, we have generated the equivalent of over 400 tons in waste, and that is a lot of waste. If I'm not mistaken, those big ships that we see in the middle of the ocean, yeah, the big ones, the big super tankers. That's how much they weigh. And we have just increased our waste generation by that over the past 5 years alone. It's a lot of waste. We can certainly do better. I thought these would be a relevant one to share with you. It's called e-waste. And for those who are not familiar with that, we're talking about electronic waste. So if you think of your phones, your tablets, your computers, video games, and that sort of thing, we are generating more electronic waste than ever. According to the United Nations, this is the fastest growing stream of waste in the world. So much so that we have to do something about it. Today in Ireland, we have a program called We Ireland, and it's at the bottom here. You have that little logo there. Those guys, they collect anything with batteries or with plugs or even like little batteries for toys, light bulbs and that sort of thing, and they recycle those things. Because guess what? Inside computers, laptops, iPads, video games and whatnot, there are very precious metals in there, and they can be reused, recycled. So these guys, they will collect and they will take and recycle so we can continue to use them and extend the life of those elements. So if you have anything broken at home, I would highly recommend you to talk to your parents or even yourselves, have a look around and try and find a We Ireland drop-off point near you so you can dispose of those things correctly and give them a best chance, the best possible chance, so they can be, reused or recycled. When it comes to waste, then let's talk about another bit, which is plastic. Ireland is carrying a very dirty gold medal. And what is that? We are the number one producers of plastic waste in the EU, in the European Union, right? What's happening here? Well, there are several factors impacting that. However, the reality is we are living in a society of abundance. We have too much, we buy too much, we consume too much. And we have, as I said before, this throwaway culture going, right? Which, what does that mean, Pat? Well, it means we buy, we use, we throw in the bin. Yeah. So we don't think twice about throwing things in the bin. And that's obviously a problem. The image on your left represents the statistics from 2015. We were number one. On your right, those statistics have been updated from 2021, so just a year and a half, 2 years ago. And we continue to be the number one producers of plastic waste in the EU, which is obviously not great. Why? Because we're only a small island and we can't recycle everything we produce. So our recycling levels are not where they should be. And we end up burning a lot of that recycling instead of trying to create something new with those, because clearly we don't have enough facilities, technologies, and whatnot. On top of that, folks, what I'm going to say to you is we have a big problem with littering. So next time you're out, please have a look around. I bet you will see cigarette butts, the little leftover bits of cigarettes that contain plastics. They contain chemicals that are very damaging to the natural world. Imagine a bird bringing that to their nest. Not good. Or even worse, that ending up in our oceans. Have a look around. I bet you're going to see some. Also, look for packaging items and chocolate wrappers and crisps bags and plastic cups. All of those things, unfortunately, are left out there. It's not good. So I would urge you to, if you can, in your school or your village, your town, organize a little litter picking morning on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning, where everybody, obviously armed with gloves or even litter pickers and bags, go out there and try and clean up the place. It's actually a really fun and interesting initiative, and you end up bringing the community together, students together. And you know what? It's great to create that awareness of, my goodness, there's so much waste out there. How can we do better? Yeah. And even for yourself, you realize that, like, I need to do better too. That's very important. Now, I put this here because we're going to talk about the most wonderful and wasteful time of the year in a minute, which is Christmas. And I just wanted to flag that the average person in the European Union, so we are part of it, right, generates almost 400 pounds of packaging waste annually. So think of all the boxes and bags and wrappers and whatnot that we bring into our lives on a weekly, monthly basis, if not daily, I guess. Packaging is a very big issue everywhere, yeah? Mainly now with online shopping that everybody's so into, and we're going into Christmas. Obviously, there's a big spike there coming up when it comes to online shopping. So those things come wrapped in plastic bags and boxes and tape, and there's a lot going on in each one of those deliveries. So how can we do better? Keep those in mind. We're going to talk about Christmas, and I think, it's very important for us to try and reduce that. How can you do that? One small example, folks, that can help is, if this weekend you're out going to buy a carton of milk or some fruit or some bread, is there a way for you to buy your fruit, for example, your bananas? that doesn't include a plastic bag? Can you buy the bananas just loose, package free? For example, the same goes for lemons or oranges or apples. Nobody needs a plastic bag. Yeah, so that's a small example that I suppose helps illustrate what I'm trying to say. Knowledge is power, as I'm saying. You can't do something you don't know. You can't fix a problem that you don't know is there. So today I'm here to talk to you about how to go about your waste problem. Yeah. In sustainability, we say we have 7 different R's. Yeah. The first one is for refuse. The idea is to learn how to say thanks, but no thanks. If you know you don't need something new, just say thanks, I don't need it. Thank you very much, but no thanks. That's the first thing. And mind you, these are in order of priority. Yeah, and we'll get to recycling in a minute. There's a reason why recycling is at the very end. After refuse, if you realize, look, I still need something here, we could be talking about food, we could be talking about having a shower, brushing our teeth. That's totally fine. Obviously, you need those things. But how can you go about shopping for your food or having a shower or brushing your teeth, even, in a less impactful way for our planet? Well, reduce means only buying what you need. Don't bring things in your life if you're not going to use, if they're not going to be really, if they're not needed. Sometimes it's nice for us to get a treat for ourselves here and there. But the reality is, a lot of times we only buy things because we think they're nice. And really, when we get home, there's no value in it and we just forget about that item. So it was a waste of money, basically. So only buy what you need. Also, try and opt for reusable options. So if you're going to buy a bottle of water, can you have one that can be reused and you can refill from time to time wherever you are? Or can you find refillable products? In Ireland today, there are plenty shops around that instead of you buying, say, for example, sweets that come in plastic bags, you can just bring your own containers, your own Tupperware, containers, and you just fill it up with jellies, for example, and then you go home. It's a fun way and a lovely way, and you generate no waste there. Next, we have reuse and repurpose. So what does that mean? Well, we are trying to avoid the bin because the reality is, folks, there's no such thing as away. Oh, I'm going to throw these away. Away doesn't exist. It always goes somewhere. And it could be the recycling center. It could be a landfill, which is this big area where we basically bury our rubbish. Not great. And it could then be the incinerator where we burn our rubbish. Again, not great either. So the idea is to avoid those things, right? How do we do that? If you find yourself with something that you no longer need or want, say, for example, clothes, can you find a new home for those clothes, for example? Same goes for books or magazines. When it comes to food leftovers, can you make something new with your food leftovers? So say, for example, there's breadcrumbs, not breadcrumbs, sorry, there's bread crusts left. Yeah, can you make maybe stuffing out of it? Can you create something different? Ideas, yeah, we always need to think a little bit extra to come up with ideas to avoid the bin. That is the message. Um, Repair would be the next one. Repair is the idea of, if my phone is broken, if my video game is broken, don't buy a new one. Try and fix it first. Yeah. There's a great website that's funded by our government called repairmystuff.ie. And you can find lots of people in there willing to help you fix things. So I would highly recommend it to have a look. And lastly, only lastly, we have recycling and rot, which stands for composting. Yeah. The idea is you have something in your hands. You've tried to reuse, repurpose, repair, and still there's nothing you can do with that. The only way is the bin. Well, it's bound to happen, right? You're not going to be able to reuse, repair, repurpose all things. So if you do find yourself with leftover material, being it paper, aluminum, or whatever it is, yeah, try and figure it out what the rules of recycling are then, so you can sort your rubbish properly. Yeah, so you give that rubbish the best possible chance to be recycled. I would highly recommend you to have a look at mywaste.ie, which is another government funded website that has lots of information on how to recycle, where different bits of rubbish should go, in which bin, as well as ask the people that come to collect your bin. Give them a call, look at their website, and try and figure out if you have a question, contact them. Yeah, because they're there to help us too. So absolutely get in touch. That's very important. My takeaway for you here on this slide is first thing you have to do to try and avoid the generation of waste is to refuse stuff you don't need and reduce as much as possible your consumption. Yeah. And then only lastly, if you still have something on your hands that there's nothing you can do with it, is when you're going to recycle. Yeah. Because there's nothing else you can do with that item, but then learn the rules so you can do that properly. Now, let's talk about Christmas. Everybody wants to talk about Christmas. It's a wonderful time of the year, but it's also sadly a wasteful time where we buy too much, we eat too much, we buy food just in case, and we end up getting carried away with gifts and whatnot. Yeah. So I'm going to try and give you a few helpful examples that will hopefully, I suppose, help you enjoy the festive season, but I suppose generating less waste. Yeah. So I was basically saying, the Repack, which is the recycling initiative here in Ireland, last year they said that nearly 100 tons of packaging waste were generated in Ireland over Christmas. This is the size of that shipping container, the ship, that the big container ship there that you see on the picture. That's how heavy that is. It is pretty huge. So that's how much packaging we generated just in this tiny little island we live in. 70% of people in Ireland said that they buy extra food at Christmas just in case people show up at their doors. Could you imagine that? Having to buy food just in case. You don't even know if you're going to be eating that food, but still you buy it just in case. That's not only a waste of food, folks, it's a waste of money as well. Yeah. So there you go. That's another one for you. People say that they bought all their presents online. So almost a third of us, so 27% of us bought all their presents online. And I understand that because it's easy. You don't have to go to a shopping center or to the city center and queue up and all of that. I get that. However, remember when you order online, you're also generating packaging waste, paper, plastic, and etc. So it's also not ideal. Yeah. And it's something that we should keep in mind, I guess, when we are shopping for our Christmas gifts. Now, a greener Christmas certainly awaits, and we're going to get to these now. There are certain areas that we're going to talk about now. We're going to talk about the tree, we're going to talk about decorations and food, transport, heating, and gifting. So bear with me. If you want, get pen and paper at ready there, as we mentioned a few tips for you. Okay. The tree, let's begin. An American group put together a study, and they said that artificial trees are only lower in carbon, so in the impact they have on their planet, if they have more than at least 5 years of use. What does that mean? It means that if you're buying a brand new plastic Christmas tree, an artificial Christmas tree, you need to keep that tree for at least 5 years to make sure that the impact of the production of that tree, the factory, and all the plastic that was used to put it together, to make sure that all of that was worth it, and the impact on our planet is somewhat diluted. So they are good if you can keep them for a long time, certainly better than, I suppose, cutting a tree every year. However, you need to keep them in good shape for a very long time to make sure they're worth our while. Okay. So, talking about a real Christmas tree, the best approach for choosing a real Christmas tree here is to source one locally. So, it's to buy one locally. Christmas, one that comes from around the corner rather than far away, right? And obviously, to know where to dispose of that tree at the end of Christmas. The county council, they usually collect the trees or they have drop-off points that you can go and you can compost your tree. So, but if you are buying one, please try and find one that is coming from near you. Um, Again, if you are cutting a tree, apologies, ensure that they come from near you. And also know that, you know, as good as it is to compost a tree, that process is still creating an impact on our planet, which is obviously not ideal, but it's again better than nothing, I guess. Excuse me, I'll just have a sip of water. There you go. Thank you. You can also go for a potted Christmas tree, which will live outside in your garden for most of the year. And you can bring it indoors for your December festivities. Apologies, folks. I think I'm too excited about Christmas. Um, so that is a lovely idea. All you need to do is to make sure you mind it properly. So when it comes to December, the tree is beautiful and ready to go. Or else, which I love, and the folks from ChristmasTree.ie were actually on lunchtime live on the radio there on News Talk today. It's a company based in Cork, and they rent Christmas trees. So you will keep your Christmas trees for three weeks. They will deliver that to you, and I believe that they will pick it up from you as well, from your house. And that's that. So you don't have to cut trees, you don't have to own a tree, you don't have to buy a plastic tree. So you rent, you agree on when you want to receive them, and you keep them for 3 weeks, which is pretty good if you ask me. And they know how to keep the trees really well. So their trees, some of them will die at the end of Christmas, they were saying, but the majority of them will be reused the following year, which is fabulous. Decorations. We all love fairy lights. I think it's safe to say they add a bit of joy to the darker evenings. Yeah. But the question is, are they sustainable? Are they good for our planet? Not if they're left on for the entire night. Yeah. So how about this year, if you can, if your set of fairy lights allows, how about you pop your lights on a timer this year, so you don't have that light blinking through the night when everybody's asleep, nobody's really looking at it. I think that's an important thing. Yeah. Santa will still come to us. I'm pretty sure he will. When it comes to decorations, Christmas lights are gorgeous, and the idea is that we choose LED Christmas lights. Nowadays, I believe that the majority of Christmas lights out there are LED, which is a technology that basically is much more efficient when it comes to consuming energy, and can save us also a lot of money when it comes to our bills. So it's a win-win, good for the planet, good for ourselves, for our pockets. When it comes to crackers, crackers are so fun, and who doesn't enjoy, right, that for Christmas dinner? But also, crackers come with plastic toys that really we don't really enjoy, or we won't really care after the fact that we just pop the cracker. And a lot of them come wrapped in plastic or are made from plastic. So nowadays, there's plenty alternatives out there. Even in shops like TK Maxx, you will find, paper alternatives or even reusable ones. There's a lovely business here in Dublin called We Make Good. They are a social enterprise, and they make reusable crackers. They sell reusable advent calendars and whatnot. Beautiful things that you can use again and again, and you can figure it out, you can put in each one of the crackers or the advent calendars your own gifts, little notes. You can decide what to do, but they are lovely, lovely, lovely options, and again, good for the planet as well. When it comes to food, folks, well, one big question is like, how do we go about our Christmas dinner? A lot of people ask, should I eat any sort of meat? Should I go meat free? Should I go plant based? Obviously, everybody's different, and we're not here to tell people to do this instead of that. everybody will find their way to contribute to a better planet. However, these just to give you an idea, right? When it comes to trying reducing, I suppose, the amount of meat we consume on a daily basis, and of course, Christmas dinner, this is an important step you can take, I suppose, to help our planet, because raising and transporting livestock, so your cows basically, produces a lot of emissions. So emissions being, toxic gases going into our atmosphere. And obviously, we don't want that to happen. So, if you can consider a vegetarian option, or at least reducing your meat consumption this Christmas, that will already be helping, yeah, our planet. I put a picture of this beautiful Wellington that's made by Mark Spencer's. I got to try that, and I was very impressed, and that's why I decided to share that with you. So, all the big supermarkets, they now have incredible and very tasty options. So I would say maybe open your mind to a few different, ideas and give it a go. You never know, you might love it too. Also, guys, we were talking about people buying food just for the sake of buying, just in case someone shows up at their door, friends or family members. Now, one of the things that you can do to reduce the impact of your Christmas dinner or food in general is to really make a list and check it twice, just like Santa. Huh? um, Ask yourselves, ask your parents, ask your family, how many people are coming for dinner? Do we need this much? Maybe not, maybe not. So try and prepare and plan food for the people that are coming in, not more. There's no need for more. But if you do end up with leftovers, make sure that those leftovers are shared with your loved ones, or even if you try and donate to charities, you could make someone really, really happy. So that is a tip. Always, consider how many people you are coming into your house, and don't go overboard, because you're not only wasting the food but also wasting money. This is a very good tip, and if you are into cooking and helping out in the kitchen, I think this is a fun one for you.
No, I didn't. I
Yeah.
registered there yet.
Oops, sorry, someone is not on mute.
Oh
If
wait,
you
we're
don't
still
mind,
on.
can you hear that? Um, so basically, guys, when we are talking about cooking, the idea is that we try and cook as many things as possible all at once. Why is that? It's because we're gonna turn on the oven once. That oven will be hot. So you're gonna make the most of that heat. And with that, you're gonna reduce the energy you consume, because you're not turning on and off that oven all the time. So that is a very good idea. When it comes to transporting, if we're going to visit family and friends down the country, how do we travel? The best way for you to do is to try and go with public transportation, maybe get in the train, maybe get in a bus, or even sharing a car with friends and family members. Yeah. So the idea is, the more people trying to make the most of one vehicle, either through public transport or carpooling. And obviously, you have an added bonus there that you have people to sing Christmas songs with you. That's always good. Make sure, obviously, whatever transport you choose to use, make sure that the cars are safe, everything's working well, so you're not left on the middle of the road. That's really important. And please, if you're waiting inside the car, this is a really important one. For school students, I would urge you to talk to your parents or whoever it is that drops you to school. Switch off your engines when you're waiting outside your schools, because when the engine is on, it is releasing gases into the atmosphere. And it's not only bad for our planet, but it's also bad for our health around schools, the pollution of the air, and all of that. So make sure that this doesn't happen, please. And you can tell them I asked you to do that. The idea is also, guys, try and travel outside peak hours. So if you are going to visit friends and family, try and visit them, and get on the road when there's not too many people on the road. I know everybody thinks about the same thing, but it's something to keep in mind, I guess. It's a good idea. It's a good tip, I guess. When it comes to heating, we spend a lot of money on heating because suddenly we feel very cold, and suddenly we're like, oh, I can't cope. Turn up the heat. We are apparently going into a very cold winter. I was reading this morning that we're probably going to have snow in November. Could you imagine? Well, how do we reduce our electricity costs, our heating costs? We need to dress accordingly, right? So get your Christmas jumper on and turn down your heating. If you turn on your heating down by 1 degree, you can save up to €49 each year on your bill, which is a lot, right? So if you think about 1 degree, and just for winter. So why not? You might as well do something fun with that €49 rather than spend on unnecessary heating. So dress accordingly, I guess. Close doors, close curtains to try and ensure that the heat leaves the house. That is very important, and if you have a stove or fireplace, make sure that that room is cozy with doors closed as well, and windows, of course. When it comes to gifting, then the point here, and I mentioned that at the very beginning when we were talking about buying and buying too much and whatnot. Our goal is to avoid buying too much. Yeah, we still want to gift people, but we want to gift things that people will mind and things that have a meaning, things that they really appreciate. So we're not wasting money here, right? The first question I want you to keep in mind, guys, is the need versus the want. So what does that mean? Certain things we feel like we need. Yeah, we need food, we need warm clothes, we need, to have a shower. So we need soap, for example. But certain things we want just because we feel like we we saw something and we thought it was beautiful, but we don't necessarily need that thing. We want something because we're feeling a bit sad and we feel like if we buy something new, we feel better. None of those things work. You're wasting time and money when you're going for things that are just necessarily wants. So start thinking about next time you're out, when you're writing your Santa letter and all of that, think of what you actually need, things that you're going to be using really often, things that you're going to value versus those things that, will be great at first, but then after a few days or weeks, they will just go into a corner and you're not going to look to them again forever, maybe. Who knows? If you can, ask yourself, you know, do I really love this gift or this product? Or these will end up in a charity shop soon after Christmas. Is this gift something that has the potential to be returned because the person doesn't like? You know, does my friend or my family member, do they have something similar to this? You know, is it a practical gift or is it just something trendy that probably in 6 months won't make any sense? Am I buying these as an impulse or, do they actually need this? These are questions you can ask yourself when you're out buying for someone. Yeah. And the same goes for, have people mentioned, needing this or wanting this? Or can I ask someone who knows them, if they like this, if they would like this, whatever that is? Yeah. You can also see if there's anything, is there something that they're interested in learning more about? Could you give them a class instead of a physical product? Could you donate to a charity? Yeah, that they're passionate about. Could you buy secondhand? I love that one. I love buying secondhand. Or even could you make it? Fabulous gift this year, I consider to be, anyways, is jam, preserves or biscuits, that sort of thing. It's a lovely personal touch, something that for sure will be used. Who doesn't love those things? And something that will actually be kind and on your pocket as well, will not cost you, the earth, and won't cost the earth anything at all. So have a think about that. These are ways to go about, I suppose, a more meaningful gifting. Yeah. So I'm leaving you with a Christmas bingo. Ideally, I would love you to tick all these boxes now this Christmas, but let's go through it, right? We're aiming to have no food leftovers. We're aiming to recycle properly. We're aiming to use energy consciously. So turning off lights that don't need to be on, like our Christmas fairy lights, for example. We're aiming to maybe gift a pre-loved item. So you buy something at a charity shop, for example. We're aiming to compost food leftovers properly. If you have a brown bin or a home composting bin, we're aiming to use public transport, to shop local, support small businesses. That's really important. You know, small businesses work so hard to put beautiful things together for us. Support them, you know, before you go into Amazon or one of those big companies that really don't even know who we are. Donate to local groups, local charities if you can, even if it's only your time. Time is the most precious thing you have. So, you know, can you go on a litter picking exercise with them? Can you donate time to feed people, people living, you know, in the streets and that sort of thing? Turn down the heating if you can. Wear the big jumpers to get warm and cozy instead of turning up the heat. Try and rewear an outfit. Maybe your Christmas outfit is a second-hand one or something that you had in your wardrobe. You don't need to buy a new one for a day, right? Try and create your own Christmas card using bits of other cards or magazines or newspaper. You know, there's nothing nicer than something that you did yourself and nothing more meaningful. And I bet whoever gets it will love that. And try replacing wrapping paper, because guess what, some types of wrapping paper, they cannot be recycled. Wrapping paper that has glittery bits or wrapping paper that has foil, so shiny bits on it, they can't be recycled because they have other materials than paper in there, which is a shame. So try and replace that. Can you wrap up with brown paper, and can you decorate that yourself with natural elements like pine cones, you know, or beautiful little branches and things like that? Can you draw on the brown paper? Can you use newspaper even? You know, there are lots of creative ways to replace wrapping paper. So these are my suggestions for you, and I would love for you to play this bingo in January and tell us what you did, what you're able to do and what not. Okay. So guys, I'm going to wrap up, and before we ask the floor, we open the floor for questions with a few key takeaways. You know, sustainability is this big, complicated word, but it's not only about nature concerns, it's about us humans having good opportunities and good chances to thrive on Earth. This is not a trend, it's here to stay. We all need to do better. That is really important. And I would urge you to try and do better in any way you can. Yeah. We're not looking for perfect results. We're looking for progress. So if you can do one thing better, that's already better than yesterday, right? So now that you're going back to school or going home, think about the one thing you can do differently. And that's already going to be better than the very same thing that you were doing yesterday, right? And remember, there is power in one. One being you, one person, one individual, making a difference every day. Thank you very much, guys. You can find me online. There, just in case you want to continue the conversation. But for now, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to go back here if you want to talk or ask any questions.
Patricia, thank you. That was lovely. Really great tips. I think especially Christmas trees and everything, that's always a big conversation, isn't it, every year?
Yeah.
That we ask ourselves what's better, what's not. So that's really great information to inform our choices. Does anyone have any questions? As Patricia said, do just pop them in the chat, or else just unmute yourself.
And I'm available online also if you have any questions at all, if something comes to mind, if you want to ask anything about your schools, please do get in touch. I'm very happy to answer any questions.
Great, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Kira.
Thanks, Kira. Great. So we might wrap up. If there's no questions, there's probably a lot of food for thought, but do feel free to reach out to Patricia or ourselves if you do have any questions. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, we do have one. Just in time.
Yeah,
So yeah, go ahead.
Are the refuse collectors aware of the contents of the bin? So I'm assuming the question around it's basically if they're aware of the rules of recycling, they should be. That's their job. Plus, if you go to their website, you know, being it Panda, Thornton's, City Bin, whoever it is that you use, you know, they will have their own list of how to recycle. please mind you, some of them, the rules may vary. So that's why you can check my waste.ie for general rules, but also I would strongly advise you to check the specific waste management company being used by your school or your household to make sure you are 100% compliant to their rules. What sanctions? Oh, that's very interesting. So what sanctions do you feel should be imposed for breaking the rules? The reality is this week, the EPA came out saying that county councils would do spot checks. We're thinking about spot checks on bins for households. I would like to think that the first thing the government should do, and if I could, that's where I would start, they should educate us with real life scenarios. Right now, general rules are good and all. However, I would love for them to run a campaign around bathrooms, or around supermarket shopping, or like going about your day carrying a water bottle, a coffee cup. So real life scenarios, because these are relatable. These is easy for me to connect with the message and do better, rather than someone coming and slapping my hand because I'm not doing the right thing. But yeah, I would like to start with education, strong education. And then if that doesn't work, maybe sanctions. But right now, I think would be wrong to impose any sanctions without giving people proper education or a chance to do better.
Great.
Yeah. Last
Loads
one there.
coming in.
It's hard to avoid feeling hopeless about the level of waste. Do you really believe the PowerPoint is enough? I think by itself, no. But if collectively we decide to do better, absolutely. If you look at Killarney, for example, the first county in Ireland to go plastic free for paper cups, for paper coffee cups and all of that, they decided that collectively they would no longer take that. And they are making a difference. So I do think so. And, I know we're only a small island. However, I think, we need to be able to do better. And we need to, I always say when we're very old, and hopefully we'll get to that age, and we get asked, what did you do once you knew? I want to have many answers to that question. And I would like to think that we all in here will have plenty answers because we're trying really hard. What do you recommend as material for clothes? Well, organic cotton is a good option. Cotton is a thirsty plant. Organic cotton is a little bit better and requires a bit less toxins to be produced. However, hemp, linen, oh my goodness, escaped my name. Oh, the name escaped. But materials like hemp are the future. They are not as thirsty as cotton, for example, and they will keep really well. Vegan, or if I feel like being vegan helps, yes, I do. But I don't think, I can't tell you go vegan straight away. I would rather tell you experiment with it. Maybe go for meat-free Mondays and that sort of thing. And if you feel like that's for you, great. Some people that I come across, they would try to go vegan or plant-based during weekdays, and then the weekends they would eat some type of meat or dairy. And that's fine too. I think every little helps. It's about reducing as much as we can. And if you can reduce completely and, completely stop, even better. I think there's some other question coming up. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much for all those questions. And yeah, just looking at the time, we might wrap it up there. Thank you, Patricia. Thanks very much. And thank you to you all for joining. And hopefully see you soon.
Thank you all. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.